Damian Woody joining the conversation this morning.
Killers.
Let
the killers be a killer.
He's like, look, they want to be aggressive.
You miss her, don't you?
Kim, any issue with what A.J. Brown had to say?
Absolutely not. This is one of, if not the most talented team, let's say in the NFC.
I didn't come here for you.
By the Rams in a loss. But Cam, when you take a look at the big picture in the NFC, are the Rams the biggest threat to the Eagles?
Absolutely.
Now I want her back.
Patriots reporter Mike Reese and NFL analyst Damian Woody. And Mike, I'll start with you. Drake May has to be thrilled that the Patriots have invested in his protection with Will Campbell. What more can you share about their budding relationship?
We came back with that.
Amina Smith just made her first take debut as Molly Qerim's potential replacement, and the timing reveals everything ugly about how ESPN operates. While Molly's contract doesn't expire until December, ESPN is already auditioning her replacements on live television. The message couldn't be clearer. You're replaceable, and we'll prove it while you're still technically employed. But here's what makes this even more brutal. Stephen A. Smith is sitting right there, watching ESPN systematically erase his co-host of 10 years while he does absolutely nothing to help her. The same man who just secured a $100 million contract is letting his longtime partner get publicly humiliated. Hit that subscribe button, because what we're about to uncover reveals the ruthless reality of ESPN's replacement strategy and why Stephen A. Smith is looking more like a sleazeball with each passing day. And trust me, this story is far from over. The awkward transition timeline. Let's break down the timeline that makes this whole situation so uncomfortable. Molly Qerim's contract expires in December, which means she's technically still employed by ESPN through September, October, November, and December. Yet ESPN is already conducting live auditions for her replacement. Think about how humiliating this is from a professional standpoint. Imagine showing up to work, knowing your employer is actively interviewing your replacement while you're still on the payroll. It's not just disrespectful, it's psychological warfare designed to make someone quit rather than fulfill their contract. ESPN President Burke Magnus announced they'll be auditioning potential replacements over the next 30 to 45 days. That's a month and a half of public tryouts, while Molly presumably sits at home watching other people compete for her job. The timing suggests ESPN wants to have Molly's replacement locked in before her contract expires, which makes business sense for them but creates an impossible situation for her. Does she come back to work while they're auditioning replacements? Does she stay home and watch her show continue without her? This isn't just about finding a new host, it's about sending a message to all ESPN talent about what happens when you don't accept their contract offers. They don't just let you leave quietly, they make the process as public and uncomfortable as possible. The Amina Smith audition. Amina Smith's debut on First Take was competent but unremarkable, which might actually be exactly what ESPN is looking for. After dealing with Molly's tendency to inject herself into conversations and create drama, they probably want someone who will stay in their lane as a moderator. From the clips shown, Amina handled the basic responsibilities well, introducing segments, asking questions, keeping discussions flowing. She didn't try to become a fourth panelist or create controversy for attention. In ESPN's current situation, competence without complications is probably more valuable than star power. But there's something uncomfortable about watching someone audition for a job while the current employee is still technically working there. Amina didn't create this situation, but she's participating in what amounts to a public humiliation of her potential predecessor. The fact that Stephen A. Smith was right there during her debut makes it even more awkward. He's watching someone else sit in the chair next to him while his co-host of 10 years is presumably at home dealing with the fallout from her departure announcement. ESPN's decision to start with Amina Smith suggests they might already have a preferred candidate and are just going through the motions of a public audition process. The 30 to 45 days timeline could be theater to make it look like they're being thorough. The Stephen A. Smith problem. This entire situation makes Stephen A. Smith look terrible, and he seems completely oblivious to how his behavior appears. Stephen A. just secured a $100 million contract extension, making him one of the highest-paid personalities in sports media. With that kind of leverage and influence, he could have easily stepped in to help Molly get a fair contract extension. But he chose not to. Instead, Stephen A. is sitting there conducting business as usual, while his longtime co-host gets publicly replaced. The same man who gave that bizarre lecture about leverage and making bosses money is now demonstrating exactly how he applies those principles. Protect yourself first, everyone else is expendable. The contrast with how other media partnerships have ended is striking. When successful partnerships dissolve, there's usually mutual respect and acknowledgement of shared success. But Stephen A.'s approach seems to be pretending like the transition is normal while his partner gets humiliated. This fits the pattern that emerged during the Max Kellerman situation, and now with Molly. Stephen A. seems to view co-hosts as replaceable props rather than genuine partners. As long as his own position is secure, he's comfortable watching colleagues get pushed aside. The industry money reality. This is an important clarification about the money discussion that reveals how disconnected ESPN's compensation can be from industry standards. Molly's reported $500,000 salary is obviously significant money in absolute terms, but it's apparently below market rate for her level of visibility and responsibility. The comparison to female former athletes making similar money for less frequent YouTube appearances puts Molly's situation in perspective. If people are earning $500,000 for occasional appearances on independent platforms, someone hosting ESPN's flagship debate show daily should be making significantly more. This reveals ESPN's strategy of using prestige and platform size to justify below-market compensation. They assume people will accept less money for the privilege of being on their network, even when independent creators are earning comparable amounts with more freedom. The money issue also explains why ESPN was so quick to move on from Molly. If they were only paying her $500,000 for a job that probably deserved $1 to $2 million, they figured they could easily find someone else willing to take that deal. But this approach is increasingly backfiring as talent realizes they can make similar money independently without dealing with corporate politics and public humiliation. The public audition strategy. ESPN's decision to conduct public auditions for Molly's replacement reveals their calculated approach to talent management. This isn't just about finding the best host, it's about demonstrating their power and control over the process. By making the audition process public and extended over 30 to 45 days, ESPN ensures maximum attention and speculation around First Take. Every potential host becomes a news story. Every appearance generates social media discussion, and the show stays relevant during what could have been a quiet transition period. But the strategy also sends a message to current and future ESPN talent. Cross us or turn down our offers, and we'll make your departure as public and uncomfortable as possible. It's designed to discourage other personalities from taking similar stands. The timing, starting auditions while Molly is still technically employed, is particularly brutal. It's one thing to replace someone after they leave. It's another to parade their potential replacements while they're still on the payroll. This approach might work in the short term, but it's damaging ESPN's reputation as a place where talent wants to work. When top personalities see how Molly is being treated, it makes them more likely to explore independent options rather than depend on ESPN's corporate structure. The uncomfortable questions. The logistics of this situation raise uncomfortable questions that ESPN hasn't addressed. If Molly's contract runs through December, what exactly is her status during this audition period? Is she expected to work while they're actively replacing her? Is she being paid to stay home while others do her job? The lack of clarity suggests ESPN is making this up as they go along, which is unprofessional for a company of their size and resources. Normally, these transitions are planned and executed with more dignity for all parties involved. The situation also raises questions about Stephen A. Smith's role in the process. As the show's star and highest-paid personality, does he have input on who his new co-host will be? Or is ESPN making the decision independently, leaving him to adapt to whoever they choose? Most importantly, what does this say about ESPN's culture and how they treat longtime employees. Molly gave them 10 years, helped build First Take into their flagship program, and this is how her tenure ends, with public auditions while she's still technically employed. The answers to these questions will determine whether other ESPN personalities view this as an isolated incident or a preview of how the network handles departure negotiations going forward. The new normal. Molly Qerim's replacement process represents a new low in how ESPN handles talent departures. The decision to conduct public auditions while she's still technically employed reveals a company more interested in demonstrating power than maintaining professional relationships. Amina Smith's competent but unremarkable debut suggests ESPN has learned from the Molly situation. They want someone who will moderate effectively without creating additional drama or demanding attention. Function over personality seems to be the new priority. Stephen A. Smith's passive role in this entire process confirms what many suspected about his character. Despite his leverage and influence, he chose self-preservation over supporting his longtime co-host. His $100 million contract is secure, so everyone else's problems are irrelevant. The money discussion reveals how ESPN uses platform prestige to justify below-market compensation, a strategy that's becoming less effective as independent media options proliferate. Talented personalities are increasingly choosing freedom and fair compensation over corporate platforms. Most damaging is the precedent this sets for other ESPN talent. The message is clear: accept our offers or face public humiliation during your departure. It's a strategy that might work in the short term, but will likely drive away talent who have other options. The uncomfortable logistics and timeline of Molly's replacement process show a company making decisions without considering the human cost. When corporate efficiency becomes more important than professional respect, everyone suffers except the executives making these decisions. If this analysis of ESPN's ruthless replacement strategy opened your eyes to how major networks really treat their talent, make sure to subscribe for more honest breakdowns of the business decisions that shape sports media. Because sometimes the most important stories happen behind the scenes, not on camera.